I welcome you to the Top 10 channel. Subscribe to the channel, put a like, and we start the next top. Top 10 Unexpected Deadly Animal Attacks. Many animals can be wonderful friends for people, yet they can also be vicious killers in some situations. When some of the persons on this list elected to spend time in the wild, they were aware of the dangers. Others were taken aback by danger in unexpected places, such as on a sunny vacation or on their own balcony. Some of them were even professionals who had dedicated their careers to helping animals. When these particular critters became violent, however, they were all killed. Egyptian shark attacks. Sharm el-Sheikh is an Egyptian seaside city and the country's tourism capital. Their amicable reputation, however, was irrevocably tarnished in 2010, when 5 shark attacks occurred in a row. Olga Martinenko, 48, was attacked by a shark on December 1, badly damaging her spine and limbs. She was carried to safety by onlookers. Lyudmila Stolyarova, 70, lost her foot and arm minutes later. Rubber fins were used by witnesses to beat the shark away from her. Then Yevgeny Trishkin, 54, was attacked and had a leg amputated. Viktor Koly, 46, was the final victim of the rampage, losing a foot as well. The 4 victims were all vacationers from Russia and Ukraine. The beaches were shut down right away, and the government dispatched experts to investigate. The beach was reopened on December 4 after a 7.5-foot white-tip shark and an 8-foot mako shark were caught. The following day, though, a 71-year-old German woman was assaulted. Her arm was severed, and she died shortly after. Overfishing, according to experts, may have altered shark behavior in the area. Sharks were also suspected of being fed by scuba diving businesses in order to attract tourists. It's also conceivable that bleeding sheep corpses tossed off adjacent boats during the Eid al-Adha holiday attracted the sharks to the shore. Horatio Chapel polar bear attack. A group of students went on an adventure excursion with the British Schools Exploring Society in the summer of 2011. 80 people were supposed to spend a month in the Svalbard Islands, midway between Norway's coast and the North Pole. The party was camping for the night less than 2 weeks into the journey when they were assaulted by a famished polar bear. Horatio Chapel, a 17-year-old boy, was slain. After punching the bear in the nose, one of his companions needed surgery to remove the bear's teeth from his scalp. Another boy's jaw had been broken. An expedition leader, who was also gravely hurt, shot the bear. The wounded team members were flown to mainland Norway and the expedition was ended immediately. Chapelle was an aspiring doctor who hoped to work on a diabetes cure after graduating from the renowned English boarding school Eton College. The expedition team was chastised for poor trip planning. On the night of the attack, there was no watchman, and the emergency gun did not fire for 4 attempts due to the safety being left on. Explosives were placed around the camp to deter polar bears, however they did not detonate, probably due to incorrect placement. In 2012, Norwegian officials concluded that the event could have been avoided if the team had slept in rooms rather than tents, but the trip's organizers were not penalized. Alan Campbell elephant attack. Alan Campbell was a seasoned zookeeper who provided advice on elephant rides all across the United States. His co-workers recognized him as a hard worker, and his main ambition was to train circus elephants. He improved the elephant program at Baton Rouge by requiring that the elephants be fed every day and their cages be cleaned twice a day, but he was later sacked from another zoo amid charges of animal abuse. Campbell was working with an elephant named Tyke at a circus show in Honolulu, Hawaii in August of 1994. Tyke was a female elephant from Mozambique who had been abused by her handlers in the past. She had escaped and gone on rampages twice in 1993, but both times she had been recaptured. Tyke attacked groomer Dallas Beckwith in front of hundreds of fans at this exhibition in Hawaii, throwing him many times. Campbell went to assist, but was crushed under her trunk and died as a result. Tyke then bolted from the center, seriously injuring circus spokesman Steve Hirano, who attempted to seal the gates. Police officers shot Tyke 86 times and killed her after a half-hour chase through the streets. During his autopsy, 37-year-old Campbell was found to have alcohol and cocaine in his system, complicating the case. Following the event, the Los Angeles Times reported that elephant handling was the most dangerous job in America. Richard Root crocodile attack. Dr. Richard Root was a national infectious disease expert, a college professor, and the chief of medicine at Harborview Medical Center. He took time off work to care for his sick wife, and when she died, he fell into a deep despair. However, he met his second wife a few years later and re-entered the medical industry with renewed vigor. Root and his new wife were accepted into a 2-month medical program conducted by the University of Pennsylvania in Botswana. Many of the patients were HIV positive, and Root was said to be pleased at his new work treating them. To study local animals, the couple decided to embark on a canoe tour of the Limpopo River in the Tule Nature Reserve. When a crocodile leapt up and grabbed Root into the water, they were each in their own canoes with 2 guides following them. He was never seen again. The attack was observed by his wife and the guides. Local specialists told the medical program director that no crocodile attacks had ever occurred in that river, and that they had been more concerned about hippopotamuses. The episode apparently frightened Root's river guide. The doctor was named Teacher of the Year at Yale Medical School in 1982 after inspiring several medical students. Cali River goonch attacks. The goonch catfish isn't your typical river inhabitant. They can reach a length of 6 feet and a weight of 200 pounds. Goonch usually consume smaller fish, but they may have evolved a new diet in the Great Cali River. Some claim that because this river, which runs between India and Nepal, is frequently used to dispose of human remains after cremation, these catfish may have developed a liking for human flesh. Dil Bahadur, then 17 years old, was pulled underwater in front of his girlfriend in April of 1998. Another youngster was dragged into the river in front of his father 3 months later. An 18-year-old kid went missing in the ocean in 2007. None of their bodies were ever found. During the last attack, witnesses saw an animal that they described as an elongated pig. For his BBC show River Monsters, British researcher and fisherman Jeremy Wade researched the cases. He was originally doubtful about the involvement of goonch catfish, but after learning that all of the attacks took place within a 5-mile radius, he grew intrigued. Whirlpools, crocodiles, and bullsharks have all been debunked. Wade caught a 161-pound goonch using a funeral pyre as a trap. "If that caught hold of you, there would be no getting away," he remarked of the fish. The inquiry did not reveal if the goonch he caught was the one who carried out the attacks, but it did reveal that human-sized fish were present in the river. Trisha Wyman wolf attack. Patricia Wyman, then 24 years old, was hired in 1996 as a wolf caretaker and educator at the Halliburton Forest Wildlife Reserve in Ontario, Canada. Wyman, a wildlife scientist who had previously worked in the reserve, started on April 14. The Wolf Center in the reserve was a 15-acre forest home to North American wolves born in captivity but never socialized with humans. Wyman had gone into the forest to feed the wolves twice, once with her supervisor and once on her own. She entered the enclosure alone on April 18, when 5 adult wolves attacked her. Later that day, 2 other employees discovered her body and alerted the authorities. The wolves became violently when 2 police officers entered the enclosure, growling and circling them. Wyman's body, which had many bite and rip marks, required 6 cops to remove. The animals had also stripped her of her clothing. The 5 wolves involved in the attack were killed and their rabies status was determined. Because Wyman was alone when she was assaulted, the details of her death will never be revealed. Dr. Eric Klinghammer, a wolf expert, believes Wyman went to the location to get acquainted with the wolves, expecting they would stay their distance as they have in the past. She may have tripped over the branches on the ground and been attacked by the wolves because she appeared defenseless. In modern North America, fatal wolf attacks on humans are extremely rare. Surinder Singh Bawa monkey attack. Surinder Singh Bawa was an Indian politician who served as Delhi's deputy mayor. He was attacked by a gang of rhesus macaques while standing on the balcony of his home on October 20, 2007. These little monkeys, which weigh between 5 and 8 pounds, can be found all around Asia. Bawa died a day later from head injuries after falling from the balcony while attempting to beat them off. In Indian cities, monkey packs are still a problem. Monkey catchers and trainers who use larger monkeys to intimidate the macaques have been used to reduce their numbers. The difficulties have gotten worse as the city has grown. Macaques, in particular, are known for stealing food from people's hands, removing items from their bodies, and even breaking into automobiles. Many Hindus feed the animals since the Hindu religion forbids killing them. Biting is a common problem, as is sickness, as tuberculosis affects over 90% of macaques in Delhi. The employment of larger monkeys to drive macaques away has been made illegal due to tighter pet laws. In Indian towns, alternative measures such as electric shock tape for buildings and sterilization programs have begun, but tens of thousands of macaques continue to trouble Delhi. Chandra Nash chimpanzee attack. Travis was a 3-day-old male chimp that was born in private captivity and adopted by Sandra and Jerome Harold of Connecticut. Travis grew up as a superstar in his hometown, riding in Harold's tow truck, dressing himself, eating at the dining table, watching baseball on TV, using the computer, and even driving a car. Because the Harolds' only human child perished in a car accident, they lavished attention on the chimp in her place. Travis was normally friendly with his neighbors, but in 2003 he got out of his car and chased down a man who had thrown something at him. In Connecticut, a rule prohibiting the possession of pet monkeys weighing more than 50 pounds was rapidly passed. Despite Travis's weight of almost 200 pounds, officials let the Harolds keep him because they didn't believe he was a threat. They were mistaken. Travis grabbed Sandra Harold's keys and fled the house on February 16, 2009. Chandra Nash, a friend of Harold's, was summoned to assist in bringing him back inside. Travis, on the other hand, attacked Chandra when she came. Travis was stabbed and struck with a shovel by Harold, but the attack continued. Harold retreated to his car and dialed 911, where the cops arrived and shot Travis. Nash somehow survived the attack, but she lost her hands and most of her face, as well as sustaining serious brain damage. She had an experimental face transplant a few years later. Travis was familiar with Nash, but she had a new hairstyle at the time, and he may have been upset because she was holding his favorite toy, a Tickle Me Elmo. Travis's autopsy revealed that he had been taken Xanax just before the incident, a drug that can cause fury and psychosis in humans. Taylor Mitchell coyote attack. Taylor Mitchell, sometimes known as Taylor Lucio, was a 19-year-old Canadian folk singer who published her only album in 2009. In the same year, she went on a solo tour in eastern Canada. Mitchell had some free time between tour dates on October 27, so he went on a solo walk in Cape Breton Highlands National Park. Later, while hiking at the same time as Mitchell, an American couple reported seeing 2 coyotes. The coyotes appeared to be unconcerned by them. The Americans heard what sounded like a lady or an animal screaming 6 minutes later. They informed a group of 4 other hikers about what had happened and phoned the authorities from a phone booth in the parking lot. Mitchell's keys, pocket knife, and damaged clothing were discovered by the 4 hikers on the route. Blood was also discovered on a restroom door. Mitchell was found on the ground with a coyote standing over her further down the trail. She had been bitten all over her body and suffered terrible brain injuries, yet she was awake at the time. Until a police officer arrived and fired at the animal, rescuers were unable to scare it away. Mitchell was taken to the hospital but died due to a lack of blood. The coyotes could have been rabid, had interbred with wolves or dogs, or were malnourished, according to experts. Mitchell could have disturbed a den or attempted to feed them, but none of these possibilities have been proved. Mitchell was a nature enthusiast, and her family didn't want any animals murdered, but Warden shot multiple coyotes, who were later identified as the attackers by blood on their fur. Dawn Brancho orca attack. Dawn Brancho began working at SeaWorld Orlando in 1994, fulfilling her childhood dream of becoming an orca trainer. By 2006, she had established herself as the company's poster girl and married a fellow performer. However, on February 24, 2010, her fantasy turned into a nightmare. Brancho was putting on a dinner show with Tilikum, the park's largest orca. The whale grabbed her ponytail or arm towards the end of the show and dragged her into the pool in front of the audience. Employees tried to divert Tilikum by submerging her for 45 minutes. They eventually persuaded him into a small tank where Brancho's body could be found. Her scalp had been ripped from her head, her elbow and knee had been dislocated, her spinal cord had been torn, and numerous bones had been broken. Her death was caused by a mix of drowning and blunt force injuries, according to the autopsy. Following the attack, SeaWorld temporarily prohibited trainers from entering the water with orcas, which was later made permanent by OSHA. Tilikum had already murdered 2 other humans, Kelty Byrne, a 21-year-old trainer, and Daniel P. Dukes, a 27-year-old park visitor, who had hid in the park after it closed and then entered Tilikum's pool. SeaWorld fought several times to overturn court decisions prohibiting water shows, but in 2014, the D.C. Court of Appeals ruled in favor of OSHA. The only judge who sided with SeaWorld was Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Brancho's death was depicted prominently in the film Blackfish. Despite the poor press surrounding the film, Tilikum resumed his acting career in 2011. In 2017, he died of a bacterial illness. Subscribe to the channel and like it. There are still many interesting stories ahead.